you. Diolch yn fawr a prynhawn da a chroeso I gyfarfod Pwyllgor Craffu Addysg ar yr aelod 15 o Orffennaf 2025. Good afternoon and welcome to this hybrid meeting of the Education Scrutiny Committee on the 17th of July 2025. I am Councillor Rebecca Phillips and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we move on to the next agenda item, please note that this meeting will be recorded. Please can you ensure that your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting? Can members and officers who are present in the presentation room please use their microphones when speaking? When asked to raise your hand, can members who are virtually viewing this meeting raise your electronic hand? And members who are in the room, please raise your physical hand. I wish to remind members signing in remotely of their legal obligation to have their cameras switched on during the meeting, please, in order to be seen and heard whilst participating in council business. We are not doing a fire drill in the presentation room, so should the fire alarm sound during the meeting, please make your way to the nearest exit. For the purpose of the recording, I will hand over to our Democratic Services Officer to confirm attendance in the presentation room, please. Good
afternoon, members. In the presentation room, we have Councillor Bob Woolford and officers Zoe Griffiths, Alison Harris, Matthew Jenkins, Chris Millis, Mike Daly and John Burge.
Sarah.
I mentioned Sarah.
Zoe.
Oh, sorry. Sarah Griffiths. Thank you, Chris.
Diolch yn fawr. Moving on to agenda item 2. Are there any declarations of interest, please, members? I don't see anyone. The declarations of interest forms can be found on the resources and guidance area of the members hub if you do have any interest to declare. Pamela, are we okay to carry on?
Yes, that's fine, Chair.
Lovely, thank you. Moving on, agenda item 3 to consider items from the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. The report, the Place Efficiency Assessment 2025 to 2028. The report is for decision and is on pages 5 to 63 of your agenda pack. Please can officers provide a brief introduction to the report? Diolch.
Yes, certainly. So the Children and Families Wales Measure 2010 places a duty on us as a local authority to assess for and secure place efficiency opportunities for children and young people in the area. So as part of this, authorities are required to conduct a place efficiency assessment on a 3-year cycle to be submitted to Welsh Government. Action plans and monitoring reports are required to be sent to Welsh Government between assessments on an annual basis. It's important to note that whilst as a directorate we strategically lead the work around place efficiency, we work in partnership with teams and other directorates within the council and external partners, including third sector organisations, to deliver the actions within the place efficiency assessment. To achieve this, we have a strong and long-standing place efficiency implementation group. The PSIG constitutes membership from key Neath Talbot council services, including education, the youth service, neighbourhood services, planning, street care, biodiversity and road safety, as well as our third sector colleagues. The group have been fully involved in the development of the 2025 Place Efficiency Assessment and Action Plan and hold responsibility for ensuring that the action plan is delivered and monitored. So the 2025 Place Efficiency Assessment has been undertaken to assess current play opportunities and to formulate an action plan for enhancements from 2025 to 2028. This assessment is in accordance with the objectives to promote the well-being of children through play. Under the Welsh Government Toolkit, there are 9 matters that we have to assess under 4 themes that include population, places where children play, supervised provision, policy synergy, engagement, advocacy and information. So through our engagement, we worked with our children and young people, parents and stakeholders. Children and young people were encouraged to contribute via online surveys and focus groups were held for children with particular characteristics, including those living in rural areas, Welsh-speaking children and young people, and children with additional learning needs, and LGBTQ+ young people. So the proposed new action plan articulates 9 key areas for development, including ongoing engagement with children and young people to understand their needs and the barriers to accessing existing play spaces and clubs, enhancement of play spaces for all children and young people, continued development of the play workforce, and to raise the profile of play at a strategic level to ensure the importance of play for children and young people is articulated and considered through key strategic plans, including the local authority's corporate plan and the early years children and young people's plan. We'd welcome any questions from members.
Lovely, diolch yn fawr, Sarah, and the team. You know, we can see the work that's gone into this, so we're very grateful. I do have a question from pre-briefing, and that's from Councillor Bob Wolford, please.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Oh, yeah, I think the report is great. There's just a couple of things I wanted to speak about. Number one, in the safety part of it, it's talking about lighting to make children feel more secure and safe, clean, green spaces. I just wondered what kind of interaction there is between yourself and other directorates, because I know in other directorates we're looking at reducing lighting and dimming lighting and stopping lighting in places. And also we've recently opened the park gates and left them open. And there's been a lot of reports of antisocial behaviour and more kind of littering and rubbish in those areas. So is there a lot of interaction between yourself and those other directorates on those sort of subjects?
I think, as I hope I just gave the introduction, our place strategic implementation group has got lots of members from other directorates from the authority, so planning, neighbourhood services. So they are part of this, and we work very closely with them to address those issues. We're working through the plan. So the answer is yes.
Okay, that's great. Just one more quick one. Sorry, Chair, if that's okay. I went as I told you in the pre-brief, I was going to read through it again because it's a lot to read. How do we engage as an authority with grassroots sports clubs, rugby, football, rounders, netball, cricket, and everything? Because I've been involved personally in a grassroots football club for the last 16 years as a volunteer, and there's a wealth of volunteers out there who are qualified, have DBSs and whatever that could obviously assist. And as I think it was on one of the key outcomes, 6 notable number of responding boys and girls have identified their wish for localised resources to be upgraded in football and things. And obviously, when you get things like the Euros with the girls now, there's a mass of that, doesn't it happen? So yeah, do we engage with those grassroots clubs and help them and ask for their assistance in these playthings? Because personally, I know as a volunteer with Pontardawe Town, we've got 250 young people on the books in our junior section. So that provides a lot of play for those children, even through the summer. We have tournaments and we have festivals and things.
So I think we work closely with the third sector organisations, and when we went out for consultation engagement, we'd rely on them in order to make those connections with our sports clubs. However, we recognise that's something which we want to explore further, particularly as you've noted, a lot of our girls and our boys want to have better access to football. I think they were talking around in parks as well as those sporting clubs. I'm thinking about that communication for our parents. We want to make sure that, I think lots of parents, they want to know what's on in their local area. So through our communication plan, we want to do that as well. So yes, we have engaged, but we have more to do over the next 3 years.
That's good. You were saying it in parks, because the club I've been involved in is in Anastero Park in Pontardawe. You have 3 open football pitches, a couple of open rugby pitches. I actually used to take care of them for a period as a volunteer. And I know how many kids play down there and enjoy it. But the facilities could be improved greatly. I know it's run by an association now, but it is council ground, and those facilities could be to make it easier for the children to play and enjoy it. Yeah,
we have our grants officer Paul Hinder, and he works really closely with our Talbot Community Council, SPW. So he is very good at supporting organisations to have those grants to improve their facilities as well, and we do work very closely with Paul.
Okay, great. I'll obviously be interested in the future to know how it goes with engaging with the grassroots clubs, not just football. As I say, there's a big rounders club down there, there's rugby, there's lots of things happening.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely, diolch yn fawr. Members, do we have any other questions on this report, please? No, I've got a few wishes to raise, if that's okay. Firstly, I just wanted to say, how vital opportunities are for children in play, especially in a world that we're living in mobile phones and social media. So I think it's really important that we do make sure that those opportunities are available for our children and young people. I noticed the mention, obviously, of the Welsh language speaking children in the report, which obviously is really important, especially to us in the Swansea Valley as well. I was just wondering whether there'd been any consideration regarding the visibility of the Welsh language as well, in terms of signage in our parks, anything in terms of the translation of play equipment. I just think, you know, the visibility of the Welsh language is really important, especially when we're talking in terms of Welsh children. And I just think we could be doing more to promote the Welsh language through play and in our parks that we have as well. So I just wanted to know if there's any consideration regarding that, please. Diolch.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think the children and people we spoke to who are Welsh language first speakers, they wanted information to be communicated to them within their own first language, but also this is something we can raise and take forward as well. So thank you, Councillor Phillips.
Lovely, thank you for that. Just as well, on page 36, it stated at the present time there's no representative of the PSIG as a member of the West Glam Regional Partnership Board. I was just wondering what the reasons for that was, or the history of that, please. Diolch.
I don't think there's been a call to before. This is the first year within the assessment toolkit that Welsh Government has asked this question. And I think there is a move that a member is, you know, we have representation on the Regional Partnership Board. So this is something that we will look into, but this is a Welsh Government directive as well.
Lovely, thank you. And just one more thing, sorry. Is there any concern of the lack of play in rural areas, and leading on from that, any inequality in attendance of after school clubs due to children and young people living in rural areas and the lack of public transport?
Yeah, those after school clubs would fall under the remit of the childcare sufficiency assessment, so it wouldn't have been looked at in depth as part of the play sufficiency assessment. In terms of playgrounds and that sort of play, we would have looked at that and mapped it in rural areas, but clubs would fall under the childcare sufficiency assessment, although the team responsible for that do sit as part of the play strategy group.
And what I would add is, you know, within the CSA, this is recognised as an area of development. There are very few after-school clubs run by regulated childcare providers. So that, you know, so that is something that we are focusing upon, but also working with schools as well to understand what their offer is, particularly since the COVID pandemic, as things were really impacted.
Can I just add quickly? We have annual funding from Welsh Government for holiday play provision, and we've made a conscious effort with that to make sure that we do have provision running in rural wards, in part through organisations that are based in those areas, but otherwise through mobile provider that will be delivering across the wards. They'll be delivering now over the summer.
Lovely, thank you. Diolch yn fawr. Members, do we have any further questions, please? I don't see anyone. So thank you very much again to everyone involved in this, and we'll move on to the recommendations listed on page 6 of the agenda pack. Can I please have a proposer and a seconder?
I'll propose, Chair.
Diolch. And a seconder, please.
Happy to second, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Can members please indicate if they wish to abstain?
I can see no abstentions, Chair.
Great. Members, if you do not indicate the contrary, then I will take it that this decision is supported to Cabinet.
Chair, I can see no indications to the contrary, so this recommendation is supported to Cabinet.
Lovely. Diolch yn fawr. Moving on with part 2 of the agenda, there are no items to consider from the Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme. So we'll move on to consider the performance monitoring reports on the Scrutiny Committee Forward Work Programme. Agenda item 5A, which the Education, Leisure and Lifelong Learning Service Improvement Plans, pages 65 to 140 of your agenda pack. The report is for information. Officers, do you want to provide a brief introduction of your service areas, please? Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. I'll do a general introduction. So There are 7 service improvement plans attached that sit below 3 of the 4 heads of service in education, leisure and lifelong learning. We will obviously be updating these plans annually and in line with the Estin recommendations as well, and the revised corporate strategy 25 to 28. And officers, heads of service and coordinators are happy to take any questions in relation to their service improvement plan.
Lovely, diolch yn fawr. Members, do we have any questions, please?
Councillor Wolford.
Councillor Bob Wolford, please.
Thanks, guys. We receive updates on this every 2 months, is that correct, on this report, or is it annually?
But it'll depend. When they move towards a business plan, which is a combination of service improvement plans, they can be brought quarterly, but some of the information that would be worthy of the report may not be available on a quarterly basis.
Right.
So we'll work alongside the chair and obviously Democratic Services to see when it's appropriate to bring you an updated report. But in all honesty, most of these improvement plans will need at least an annual approach to achieve any actions within them and performance monitoring. So you're more likely to have them on an annual basis, but not all together like this is. No. This is a starting point. Okay. We're just going to need time to align them with the corporate strategy, the new one, just been adopted in July, and also Estin's recommendations that became live today. We'll align them with that as well, where appropriate in the improvement plans. Yeah. But under the corporate strategy, we're likely to move towards business plans to align with other directorates. So our service improvement plans will maintain themselves within the coordinator's role, but heads of service are likely to turn them into a business plan to bring them here on a regular basis. But you can request them at any time you like.
Fine. Just a second question. Obviously, a lot of the services rely on grants.
Yes.
Are we in a position now to know exactly how stable those grants are? Because it does say in the report that, you know, we rely on them being continued. And do we know, are they going to continue in the same form, or are we likely to have a different form of grant?
I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but in general terms, you can never rely on grant.
No.
In its nature, that's the honest answer. So the majority of grants are used appropriately. We don't return any unspent money. We can't see Welsh Government in some of these service improvement plans pulling that grant because of the nature of the improvement they're trying to work on. But I can't say to this committee that a grant won't cease, because it might.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example in my area. Yeah. I look after the attendance support officers, which is grant funded by Welsh Government. We didn't have receipt of confirmation of the grant continuing for this year until 4 weeks before all the staff's contracts were due to expire. In other words, early March. Yeah. Yeah. And in the meantime, I've got a number of people in the workforce who've got mortgages, who've got bills to pay, and not knowing if they've got a job in a matter of weeks. Yeah. Despite this pestering, it's difficult. Yeah. It is difficult.
So, on the basis of the question before us, then would it be possible, if there are any changes expected in grants, that we get to know about them as soon as possible?
Certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Definitely.
Because it'll affect service output.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
If I don't get money for my attendance support, and I'm being selfish, I'm talking about my own area, well, there won't be an attendance support.
The way to be, no one's going to help you. Exactly.
Unless, of course, it's funded differently than a grant.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you, Bob. Any further questions, please? Okay, I just have a few points on the home education team. Just states on page 80 that they're collating information and formal feedback from parents on level of support that they're receiving. Have we got any initial information on this yet, or do we know when we'll be able to collate all the information in by? I just think it's something that we see in an increase of, something we need to keep an eye on, and just be grateful for that information, really, John. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I think in the forward work programme you've requested a document on elected home education, but for now John can give you the answer to this committee, but there will be a full report coming.
Yeah,
it's ongoing, Chair. We continue it. There's no open period or closed period for collating that feedback from parents. We collate it constantly and ongoingly, and Chris is right. at the next meeting, at the meeting where within the forward work programme I'm bringing the elective home education report, it will contain the next update relating to parent feedback. It was put in the report that you received about autumn last year, and I'll update it again then for the forthcoming period. But yeah, we don't survey, between date A and date B. It's an ongoing survey. As parents join us, we ask them questions about why they've been deregistered for elective home education. So that feeds into the reasons. And as we either move them back into school or they move on, say they become year 11 equivalent and they leave the system, we then, what I would call like an exit questionnaire, ask them how did they feel about the service that they received. So it's ongoing. It's continuous.
And just to confirm, they don't have to fill that in, do they? They're not under any.
No, Chair, they don't.
No,
okay.
You're absolutely right.
Chair, they don't actually have to allow us to see the child.
Yeah. Here lies the problem. Anyway, yes, thank you. Diolch yn fawr for that. I've got two questions that you may not be able to answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. Budget pressures obviously always place additional burden on services. Do we have a mitigation plan going forward on that, please?
Under which service improvement plan, Chair?
As a whole.
Okay. Yeah. I can only answer for my services. Where you've got grant funded, there's a risk that that grant could cease.
Yeah.
Where you've got a reduced funding stream, then the outcome could be an impact on the service provided or redundancies.
Yeah. And just the second one, are sufficient plans in development to manage risk around succession management?
Again, speaking from my areas, we work with HR on the succession management plan. There's always the approach to who's next and who's taken over, the development of staff, so a deputy becomes a leader, a deputy's deputy becomes a leader. So we do try to manage that, but as John pointed out earlier in my areas, we sometimes don't get recruitment into key areas if it's grant funded, because some of these young people that are trying to start on the property ladder can't get a mortgage if they've got sort of an unconfirmed employment. So that's a risk for us. Some of my other colleagues obviously have greater risks when there's low paid work, a high turnover of staff. Some of those jobs are harder to fill. So all of that in succession management is something that we do corporately, and we also do it within the directorate as best we can, looking ahead, trying to make sure that we're developing our staff to take over next. What we're mindful of is asking fewer people to do more.
Yes. Yeah, really important. Thank you for that. Any other officers want to come in on that, or are we?
I think just to say, corporately, that there's a new succession planning toolkit that we've all had training on that's been updated. So we've all been looking at that to look at our service areas over the forthcoming months in collaboration with HR.
Lovely, thank you. Louise, please. Thank you.
Yeah, just to say, I guess from the inclusion service perspective, we are dealing with a lot of staff who are quite specialised within certain fields. So obviously we've got school-based counsellors who have to be sort of registered with the BACP. They have to have specific qualifications, as do educational psychologists. So I guess as part of our succession planning and trying to mitigate against issues, we do work really, really closely with the training providers through Newport, University of Wales, Newport, University of Wales, Cardiff. We're actively involved in the recruitment processes, for example, with educational psychologists. So our principal educational psychologist, Helen Osborne, always sits on the interview panel. We always have trainees that come and do placements with us. So hopefully we can keep that relationship going so that when they are actively looking for posts, they're more likely to come back to us as well. So I think that there's a lot of work that we do as well to be proactive around it and to get upstream.
Lovely, diolch. Thank you, Zoe. Do we have any other questions from members, please? No, I don't see any. So thank you very much, officers, as always. The report is for information, so we'll note that report. Diolch yn fawr. Moving on to part 4 of the agenda item 6, to go through the Cabinet Forward Work Programme and add further items. Pamela, would you like to give us an update, please? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Members will have had sight of the Cabinet on Scrutiny Forward Work Programmes, and they're included in the agenda pack. The Cabinet Forward Work Programme includes all the upcoming single Cabinet member decisions. There's been no changes to those items since you've seen it in the pack, other than one report has moved. The school funding formula review has moved from the 26th of November to the 16th of December Cabinet, and this will enable scrutiny to have that item for pre-decision scrutiny on the 27th of November. There are some items that have been added to the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme, and I'll just read those out. These are in consultation with the Chair. We've got the 27th of November, a report on pupil and staff wellbeing. 8th of January, we have 2 reports on the development of literacy in Neath Talbot schools and numeracy in Neath Talbot schools. And on the 19th of February, there is a report on additional learning needs, provision and progress. So those are the new items that have been added to the Forward Work Programme. So I don't know if members have any other items that they want to put forward.
Members, anything to add? No, I don't see anyone. So thank you very much.
Can I mention the proposed workshop for the Strategic Schools Improvement Programme? In the previous civic year, there was a suggestion put forward that a workshop is held later on this year regarding the Strategic Schools Improvement Programme. And I've discussed this with the Chair, and the Chair suggested that we bring this up in the meeting to see if members still request that.
Yeah, so basically, members, the member that requested this workshop is no longer part of the committee. So we just wanted to survey members to see if this was still something of interest to us. There's obviously no point having a workshop and getting officers to put things in place if there's no interest in the SIP. So we were just gathering thoughts if anyone would like to say anything at this point.
What's going to be the outcome from that, Chair?
Rhiannon, did you want to maybe provide a brief? Thank you, Councillor Rees.
Yeah, certainly. I was just trying to find my hand to raise it. Apologies, I'd have come in a bit earlier then. It was asked if we could provide a workshop to go through the rolling programme, basically, and what's planned. So we brought a report probably about 18 months ago now to ask for permission to submit the rolling programme, and we will be bringing a report again sometime in the next 6 months possibly or so to revise the programme, because costs have gone up and other things have happened already in the first 3 years of us working on it. So really a workshop feels like it would be an additional to the work that's already been planned or the reports that are already been planned to give to you. I'm not really entirely sure. I think I would have needed to go back and check exactly what the workshop would have meant to cover other than that, really, if I'm honest, Councillor Phillips. I think we had the conversation, but we weren't entirely clear, were we? But all I will say is that there will be a report coming, will be going to Cabinet, but obviously it'll come through scrutiny as well, on the forward work programme for SIP, the rolling programme for SIP, apologies, with any changes that need to be added to that or anything that needs to come out of it because of the additional costs that we find in at the minute and the money that's been allocated to the programme to date.
Thank you, Rhiannon. I think in terms of, Councillor Lockyer, please.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I think from my point of view, as a new member of the committee, it'd be nice to have a bit of background on what was proposed in the old SIPS program before we might have to alter it, or the suggested alterations due to financial constraints or whatever. I mean, that'd be something that perhaps the cabinet member can give us on in the next meeting, perhaps just to sort of précis what has gone before, what we were going to do, and what we're stuck with. Well, not stuck with it. What we now have to make adjustments to compensate for the whatever it might be, whether the alterations that have to be made, due, whether it be finance or whatever. So that would be helpful for me personally. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can arrange move for the previous papers and the previous plan to be circulated, just for you to have sight of that, John. And if you can just make sure Pam's got all that to send out.
Yeah,
I think
can
personally, in terms of the scrutiny committee adding value at this moment in time, I don't think a workshop would maybe be beneficial. But if anyone disagrees, please say so now.
No, Chair, I agree. I think it's duplication and I think it's unnecessary.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. Anybody else? No, so we're happy to leave that then, Pamela, until Rhiannon, you bring the report then forward regarding those changes. Diolch yn fawr, thank you. So we move on with the agenda. Agenda item 7, urgent items. I have no urgent items, you'd be glad to know. So thank you very much for your time. Diolch yn fawr I bawb, and I hope you all have a lovely summer. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.